Imagine you're asleep in your home. It's the middle of the night. No warning, no siren, no app on a phone that doesn't exist yet. Just the ground, deciding, all at once, to stop being solid. In one single night in the year 1556, that happened to millions of people in central China. By morning, roughly 830,000 of them were dead. It remains, to this day, the deadliest earthquake ever recorded in human history. This is how ancient people explained the ground turning against them, and, sometimes, how they actually survived it. Here's why the Shaanxi earthquake got so catastrophically deadly. Most people in the region didn't live in wooden houses. They lived in yaodong, cave homes carved directly into cliffs of soft, crumbly loess soil. Loess is great for farming. It is spectacular at collapsing instantly the moment the earth shakes, which is exactly what it did, on top of everyone sleeping inside. No engineering standards existed. No warning system existed. The earthquake struck an area so densely populated that the death toll wiped out an estimated 60% of the population across 2 entire provinces. Nobody watching that had the faintest idea why it happened, so they came up with answers. In ancient Greece, the answer had a name: Poseidon. Not just god of the sea, Poseidon carried the title Earthshaker, and when the ground cracked open, it wasn't geology, it was the god losing his temper and driving his trident into the earth. Simple, terrifying, unfalsifiable. Try arguing with a trident. But the Greeks didn't stop at mythology. They're also where the first real scientific guess shows up. Aristotle proposed that the sun baked the earth, forcing hot, dry air, he called it pneuma, down into underground caverns, where it built up pressure like steam in a sealed pot until it blasted its way out, shaking the ground on its way. Completely wrong about the mechanism. But it's the first time anyone on record tried to explain an earthquake without blaming a god's mood swing. That's the actual birth of seismology, several centuries before anyone had a word for it. Halfway around the world, Japan had its own answer, and it involved a fish. A colossal catfish named Namazu was said to live in the mud beneath the entire country, and every time it thrashed, Japan shook. Keeping Namazu pinned down was the job of the thunder god Kashima, who used an enormous stone called the kaname ishi, the linchpin stone, to hold the catfish in place. Every so often, the story goes, Kashima gets distracted, Namazu wriggles free for a moment, and that's your earthquake. The legend became so popular after Japan's devastating 1850s earthquakes that Namazu's image still shows up today, on tsunami evacuation signs of all things. A 1,000-year-old catfish, doing modern public safety work. The Vikings had their own version, and it's considerably more graphic. In Norse mythology, the trickster god Loki was bound underground in punishment, with a venomous serpent fixed above his face, dripping poison onto him, drop by drop. His wife Sigyn stood over him, catching the venom in a bowl. But every time the bowl filled up and she had to empty it, a few drops landed on Loki's face anyway. He'd thrash in agony. And every time Loki thrashed, the Vikings said, the whole earth shook, an entire natural disaster, blamed on one guy's really bad day that never actually ends. On the other side of the Pacific, the Quileute and Ho peoples of the Pacific Northwest told a different story. An epic battle between Thunderbird and a giant whale. A fight so violent it uprooted forests, cracked the mountains, and sent the ocean surging over the land. For a long time, this was filed away as pure legend. Then geologists, doing sediment core research on the Cascadia fault line, found evidence of a massive earthquake and tsunami around the year 1700, and researchers cross-referencing the timing against dozens of native oral traditions up and down the coast found the stories lined up almost perfectly with the geological record. The legend wasn't a metaphor. It was an eyewitness account, carried accurately for 300 years with nothing but memory and storytelling. Which is worth pausing on, because it's the credibility question underneath this entire video. How do we actually know any of this? For events like the earthquake that leveled Antioch in 526 AD, killing an estimated 250,000 people, many of them visitors packed into the city for a religious festival, we're not guessing. Byzantine chroniclers like John Malalas and Evagrius Scholasticus wrote it down at the time. The quake first, then a fire that tore through whatever the shaking left standing, finishing what the ground had started. Between contemporary written chronicles in the Mediterranean world and oral traditions verified against physical geology on the Pacific coast, ancient disaster history holds up a lot better than old myth implies. Now here's where it stops being just about explaining earthquakes and starts being about surviving them. Because in 132 AD, a Han dynasty polymath named Zhang Heng built something genuinely ahead of its time. The first seismoscope in recorded history. It looked like a large bronze wine jar, ringed with 8 dragon heads, each holding a small ball in its mouth, with a toad sitting below each one. Inside, a suspended pendulum reacted to the faintest tremor, triggering a lever that dropped one dragon's ball into its toad's open mouth, pointing, precisely, toward the direction the shockwave came from. In 138 AD, the device dropped a ball, indicating a quake to the northwest. Nobody at the Han court had felt a thing, and skeptics openly doubted the machine. Days later, messengers arrived reporting a major earthquake, hundreds of miles to the northwest. A bronze jar with a pendulum inside had detected an earthquake nobody in the capital could feel, 13 centuries before Europe built anything comparable. Japan, meanwhile, was solving survival architecturally. Traditional wooden pagodas are built around a shinbashira, a massive central pillar running through the entire structure, but critically, not rigidly attached to the floors around it. When the ground shakes, the outer structure and the central pillar move independently, out of sync with each other, canceling out much of the force instead of fighting it head-on. The 5-story pagoda at Horyuji has a shinbashira pillar from a tree felled in the year 594. It's still standing. Across roughly 1,400 years of Japanese earthquake history, only 2 of these pagodas are recorded as having ever collapsed from one. Carpenters who never heard the words seismic engineering figured out, by trial and centuries of error, that a building that bends survives where a building that resists shatters. And back in Shaanxi, the survivors of history's deadliest earthquake learned the same lesson the hard way. In the decades after 1556, communities across the region moved away from rigid Loess cave dwellings and rebuilt with wood and bamboo, materials that flex under stress instead of collapsing all at once. It took 800,000 deaths in a single night to teach that lesson, but it stuck. Which is the thread running under every one of these stories? Whether it's a god with a trident, a catfish under a stone, or a bronze jar full of dragons, humans have never been able to stop the ground from shaking. But long before anyone had the word tectonics, they were already doing the 2 things that actually matter: figuring out it was coming, and building things that could bend instead of break. Modern seismographs still work on Zhang Heng's exact principle, a mass that stays still while the world around it moves. Tokyo's Skytree literally borrows the Shinbashira's floating central pillar. Somewhere underneath all our satellite warnings and base-isolated skyscrapers, there's still a bronze dragon, quietly doing its job.
Make sure to subscribe for more epic content. And click that bell icon too.